Coming to you from the home of the mini trees, inspirational, motivational, so come along with us.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Pixel Talk. This week's edition brings you an interview with Mr. Ramsey Homsany, the General Counsel at Dropbox and former Vice President and Deputy General Counsel at Google. Peyton Robertson's discussion on a fascinating discovery that might aid us one day in the search for extraterrestrial life. A sports update provided by Daniel Foster, and a student interview with Leo Panish. Hello, my name is Tej Singh, and I'm broadcasting from New Jersey on behalf of Stanford Online High School students from around the globe. So, hello world. With us here today is Mr. Ramsey Homsany, the General Counsel at Dropbox and former President and Deputy General Counsel at Google. So let's get started with something lots of high schoolers have interest in. So what was your high school experience like? And if you could go back and change one thing, what would it be?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, Tej. I've watched a couple of your other Pixel Talks and they've been great. So my high school experience was pretty great. I studied a lot, probably not as much as I should have, but still a good amount. And in high school, I was really into math and science. So I very much got into my physics and my math classes. I did a bunch of coding in high school also, which I really enjoyed. And then after school, I loved to play soccer. So I played a lot of soccer and just hang out with my friends, go to the movies, watch movies, that sort of thing. It's great.
Yes, it's related.
About it. Sorry, I didn't answer the question. So I think the thing I probably would have changed about high school is I probably should have spent a little more time actually like going after the things I wanted to go after in high school and spend a little more time asking my teachers questions rather than just sort of like sitting back and letting it all happen to me. And so in the areas where I was interested, it might have been good to maybe like go up to my teachers after class and ask them questions about things I was interested in, rather than just always focusing on doing what they wanted me to do all the time.
So in hindsight, I just want to get back to how you talked about like you did soccer or even extracurriculars. If you had 10 extra hours, or if you had 10 hours a week as a high schooler, would you spend it on one activity extracurricular wise or split it amongst three? So parents and students have an idea like depth wise, or what would you do?
Yeah, so, the funny thing is I probably did have 10 hours or so more than I thought when I was in high school. I just wasn't very careful with my time. And some of that's okay. I think it's important to just have fun sometimes and relax. But if I think I'm a big fan of doing a little bit of something every day. I think that it's not that you have to sit down and study 3 hours at a time at something or practice 3 hours at a time at something. I think it can actually be powerful to just spend 20 minutes every day doing something, whether it's learning a subject or reading in an area of interest or practicing a sport or practicing an instrument or practicing to draw. If you actually, there's a lot more time in your day than you think if you just commit to yourself to actually spend 20 or 30 minutes doing that thing at least once a day. And so I think I would probably split it up, those 10 hours between maybe 2 or 3 different activities. Yeah,
and especially related to that point, so many middle schoolers and high schoolers are busy these days, and like parents are equally stressed. And like having like been through this stage not too long ago, did you have like a magic bullet, or would you suggest anything to the next generation or even the younger kids who are in middle school and high school now?
Yeah, for me, I think what's always been really important is to remember that all of the most successful people since the beginning of time have made lots and lots of mistakes. And so I think if you're not making a lot of mistakes, you're probably doing something wrong. You're probably not trying something difficult enough, right? And so for me, what's always been important is when I make a mistake, saying to myself, it's okay. You made a mistake. Everyone makes lots of mistakes. But what can we learn from that mistake? and trying to take a little bit of a lesson from every mistake I've made and understand that, you know what, I might make that mistake again, but maybe I do it a little bit better next time. It's really important for people to understand, especially with all the pressure you get from your friends and your parents to look perfect, to be perfect, to get perfect grades. No one's perfect. No one's ever been perfect. And it's just really important to embrace that and be okay with making mistakes. As long as you try to make a little bit of value out of every mistake and learn a little bit from each one.
So moving on to our lighthearted segment, if you could hang out with someone for a day, who would it be and why?
You know, I think it would be really cool to hang out with Pablo Picasso for a day. And just like, he's just such an interesting person with who really changed the world through art. And that's something that I haven't spent a lot of my time on in my life. I've been mostly math, science, and law my whole life. And so seeing the world through someone else's eyes would be really, really interesting. Or maybe someone like Martin Luther King would be an amazing person to talk to and spend a day with.
And so our next question is, if there's one particular app that you hope someone develops in the future, what would it be or what would it relate to?
These are hard questions, Tej. This is, if I knew, I'd go become a billionaire. Let's see. You know, I'm really excited about a bunch of the stuff that Dropbox is doing. And so not to avoid the question, but I'd like to, I'm excited about some of the ways that Dropbox is going to make it easier for people to work together. And so maybe my answer, which is sort of is really about apps working better together. So I can, like, for example, I don't want to get my bills in the mail anymore. I wish they would just show up in my Dropbox. I don't want to have to use all these different tools to collaborate with people all the time. I wish I could do all those things through my Dropbox. If people could use the Dropbox APIs to make the other apps I use more Dropbox aware, I would be super excited about that.
Yeah, I was in the news that you released API version 2, and so that has lots of functionality. And it's pretty interesting how even as Pixel Talk, lots of what we do is related to Dropbox. Like our videos are uploaded here, and then I use file requests for people to send their segments. And then we even have, like for even outside in school, like to submit an assignment for my physics teacher, I use the Dropbox Paper, the new app that came out, and you upload a video there and you write some text on there. So it's pretty cool at what strides Dropbox is making. And so what is it?
I'm blown away by all the different things I hear that people use Dropbox for. It's amazing.
And so what does a typical day look like for you at the company? Or what do you look forward to? And do you have a favorite food maybe at the cafeterias?
Oh, yeah. So none of my days here are super typical. I do a lot of different things here. I spend a lot of my time working with our teams to make sure that we are doing everything we can to defend our users at Dropbox, defend their privacy, defend their data. And that includes everything from making sure we're being rigorous in how we design our systems and audit them, to also dealing with government requests for people's data and making sure that when everything we do is like maximally protective of our users' data. And that's usually through meetings with different people on my teams who work on different aspects of that. My favorite food in the cafeteria, you know, I'd have to say that our cafeteria makes so many different great things here. But I really like it when they make grilled fish, because I actually grew up near the sea and I love fish. And so when they make a good fresh piece of grilled fish, that's usually my favorite.
Yeah, and going back to the security thing, it's really interesting how it was in the news that like Dropbox acquired the HIPAA, or I think compliance, and now it opens the doors to even like doctors or even medical professions, and so it's a great future for that. And so also it's a tradition of Pixel Talk to end these interviews with a short, lighthearted this or that segment. So it includes a fun series of questions that provide users two options to choose from. So would you like to participate?
I would love to participate.
Okay, thank you. So our first option is credit card or cash.
Probably credit card. It's just easier to use. Not have to worry about always having cash on me.
And so lots of this question, lots of our parents were wondering about private school or public school.
I'm a public school kid, so public school for me.
Able to fly or be invisible?
I think be able to fly, because it would be amazing to like get places really fast. And most of the things you would use being invisible for are probably test the boundaries of like what's right. Like I don't think I'd want to like spy on people or be invasive of their privacy. So I'd probably be the flying guy.
Yeah, you'd probably lose out on frequent flyer miles from your credit card though. And then
yeah, true. But that would be great, because then I could travel a lot more.
Netflix or YouTube?
I'm gonna have to go with YouTube on that one, because I'm a big fan of content that's just created by the people, created by the crowds.
Facebook or Twitter?
Oh, Twitter, easy for me. Twitter, just I'm a huge Twitter fan. I just think that it's sort of like the consciousness of the whole world all happening in one place. I imagine all the time, like, what if during some of the greatest events of human history, there had been like Twitter, and we could go back and look at the Twitter feed from those days and like imagine how like the everyday person was experiencing when like Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon on Twitter. Like that would just be incredible. So to me, Twitter is like a national treasure.
Retweet. And so what about the last one? Money or free time?
Oh, free time. There's lots of money out there, but you only have so much time in your life. And so time is way more valuable than money in my book.
So this brings us to the end of this Pixel Talk. We'd like to thank Mr. Homsany for graciously sparing his time for us here at Pixel Talk and inspiring not only the Stanford online high school community, but youth around the country and maybe even around the world.
Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm Peyton Robertson, editor of the science section for Pixel Talk, and today I wanted to discuss a fascinating new discovery by some researchers at the University of Vienna that may aid us someday in the search for extraterrestrial life. Today, when trying to calculate whether a new planet could be habitable for life similar to human life on Earth, we need the mass and radius of the star that it orbits in order to see whether it could be the right temperature on the planet's surface and the right gravity and some other factors that may influence whether life could exist on the planet. And today we can calculate those values by measuring the brightness of the light that the star emits. But these calculations are only accurate for near stars because the brightness fades for distant stars. But these researchers have come up with a novel way to make these calculations more accurate. And this is by calculating the surface gravity of the planet. And by the gravitational formula, if we know the gravity at the surface of the planet, we can calculate the mass and the radius. And we can calculate the surface gravity by measuring the relativistic effects that this gravity has on the light that's emitted at the surface of the planet. So instead of measuring like the light that gets to Earth, we can measure the turbulence effects caused by the gravity on the light that's emitted by the planet to calculate the strength of the gravitational field and, by extension, the mass and radius of the star and whether the planet that orbits the star might be suitable for human or alien life.
Hey guys, it's Daniel, back with this week's sports update. The big news of the day comes from Pasadena, California at the 102nd annual Rose Bowl game. Our very own Stanford Cardinal dismantled the Iowa Hawkeyes 45-16. It was all Stanford from the start, with offensive MVP Christian McCaffrey taking in a 75-yard touchdown pass in the first 11 seconds. He finished with 368 all-purpose yards, a new Rose Bowl record. In other college football news, the Ohio State Buckeyes took down the Irish of Notre Dame at the Fiesta Bowl. Yesterday we had the 2 semifinals for the 4-team playoff. Clemson topped University of Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, and Alabama took down Michigan State in the Cotton Bowl. In NFL news, there's no longer any undefeated teams as the Carolina Panthers lost to Atlanta last weekend. Most of the playoff spots are set, and this final weekend will indicate the seedings. The playoffs are right around the corner, so there's some exciting games ahead. Looking back on 2015, some of the top highlights in sports include the Golden State Warriors won their first NBA title in 40 years and began their current season with a record 24-0 start. The Kansas City Royals won their first World Series in 30 years. Jordan Spieth won the first 2 golf majors of the year. He also turned 22. The United States women won the World Cup for the first time since 1999. And finally, Serena Williams won 3 of the 4 tennis Grand Slams this year, becoming Sports Illustrated's Sports Person of the Year. That's all for now. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Shannon Madden, and today I'm here with Leo Panish. Hi, Leo. Welcome to the show. So we've heard a little bit about the interesting research you did over the summer. Can you expand a little on that?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me. So this past summer, I did an internship with NASA through their New York City Research Initiative. And I worked with lead scientist, Professor Reginald Ezzi, and we were researching organic light-emitting diode emission patterns. It was a lot of fun, and we were conducting a parametric study to determine what materials best to use in an actual OLED. Organic LEDs are a new form of technology, relatively new, and there are no specific materials lists to go to. So we were working with finding what those could potentially be. And we did so by creating a simulation we wrote in MATLAB and testing different characteristics and factors that affect the emission patterns.
Wow, that's really interesting. So how did you get into this program?
I was actually lucky enough to meet one of the directors that is in charge of it. But anybody can apply for it. You can actually just go to their website. It's intern.nasa.gov. And you can go on, you make an application, and you can select whichever opportunities interest you. I chose the organic LEDs because I was particularly interested in it, but other opportunities were they had atom interferometry as well as analyzing solar radiation and its effect on temperatures of the Earth and taking information from satellites. So there's definitely a wide range of topics you can choose from.
Wow, that's really great. So do you have any advice to students who may want to kind of look into this course, or if they're not sure about this field of study, do you have any advice to give them?
I would say first determine what you're interested in. You could go on and find out the different opportunities, and then you can inquire and find out the best courses or information to learn about before you apply so that you have a higher chance of getting selected for it. I think that part of the reason why it was so good because the courses I took were directly useful in the research opportunity I was doing.
That's fantastic. And finally, my last question. How do you think this opportunity helped to kind of prepare you for your future? And how do you think it really played an impact on your life over the summer?
Well, this was my first time doing research, and it was actually a totally different experience than I had imagined it would be. In fact, because it was a relatively unexplored topic, it kind of felt weird at first not simply being able to go and know exactly what the right answer was. So it really tested my confidence, my ability to, be comfortable in the face of uncertainty in that sense. And I can see how it has prepared me for future research, and I've really gotten interested in that field, and I'm excited to do that in college as well.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for speaking to us about this.
Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Until then,